All right, let's roll.
This is a snowflake-free zone.
Cheef report. The Cheef report. The Cheef report.
This is a snowflake-free
Cheef
zone.
report. The Cheef report. The Cheef report.
This is a snowflake-free
Cheef
zone.
report. The Cheef report. The Cheef report.
This is a snowflake-free
Cheef
zone.
report.
What's going on, everybody? This is your boy James Cheef, and I'm back at you with the Cheef Report. And as you can see on the bottom of the screen, I'm getting ready to bring Trisha Flanagan in. We're going to be talking about her race in New Jersey for U.S. Senate. As you all know, she's running against Bob Hugin and Bob Menendez. And there's been a lot of talk as far as her being an independent Republican. Some people feel that she's going to split the vote and take it away from Hugin or Menendez, which really isn't such a bad thing when you consider the fact that, again, Hugin does not support President Trump's agenda. He is pro-abortion, and he doesn't even want President Trump to campaign for him. So that spells out rhino to me. So let's bring Trisha Flanagan in, and I'll see what's going on with her race. How you doing there, Trish?
I'm doing well. Thanks, James. Thanks for having me on. Got lots of updates for you.
As always, we finally got you back in. I'm glad of that. So why don't you update us on your race and what exactly is going on out there in New Jersey?
Sure. I was out canvassing this weekend. I was at a Wounded Warrior event in central New Jersey, then went out canvassing several neighborhoods in Ocean County. Ended up with, I've been doing diner tours throughout the state. I get out and talk to the people. You won't see that from Hugin or Menendez. And this weekend reached a crescendo pitch. The enthusiasm for having a MAGA candidate in this race is palpable. There are voters who are on fire. You know how much I like numbers. I'll share with you that at the Wounded Warrior event, there were over 450 people there. And then canvassing the neighborhood, all total on Saturday, I probably talked to about 150 people. And I will tell you, there were three voters who were for Hugin out of all of those that I spoke to. And there was one Democrat. He didn't say he was voting for Menendez, but I assume that he was. Even those three voters that were for Hugin, lukewarm, but the MAGA voters were on fire. I had somebody that had been at a prior stop of mine that had heard there was a MAGA candidate there, got in their truck and followed me and stopped me and asked me for material because they haven't had this kind of representation. They're jazzed up since 2016. Everybody says, oh, this is such a blue state. That is absolutely not. Any blue leaning has been a voter turnout issue, not a voter demographic one. There are 2.4 million independents. That's where most of the MAGA segment resides. They don't like the establishment, and they are ready to vote for a MAGA candidate. Just look at Guadagno v. Murphy to see the lukewarm feelings for the establishment are long gone, and they are coming out en masse and with passion for the MAGA message.
Okay, so why don't you tell the people, I'm getting ready to pull up some of your policies, because there's been a lot said on, I can't remember the name of the website, but they make it seem as if you've dodged what your policies are, and I know that's not true. You've talked about them on my show. They're on your website. They're easy to find. So let's get into some of your policies. For instance, let's get into your policy on abortion. You say, I'm a mother of three and a lifelong pro-life advocate. If you would stand with me, vote for me, and send me to the United States Senate, I offer my solemn pledge that I will never stop fighting for our precious unborn. I will support, vote for, and champion for legislation to be passed that will protect and stand with life. The time has never been riper or more critical. We can defeat abortion's culture of death if we stand together for life. So how is it that they say you have no position on something like abortion, and it's right there on your website? So can you explain to the people what your exact position is on abortion?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the only person in this election, well, actually, Menendez is asleep at the wheel, and Hugan is the one that dodges platform. And, they like to project. Like you said, James, I've been crystal clear on all of my positions. I speak openly about them on a regular basis. And I want to add that 34% of the voter base in New Jersey is pro-life. And a significant part, 32% of the Democrats are pro-life Catholics, and they're single issue voters. So, this is a very ripe and live issue. And I've done events with Right to Life. I met Sarah Palin in April, talked about how I was the only pro-life candidate in the race, and she offered to do all she could help. So I know the word is getting out there that I am the only pro-life candidate left standing in this race. And I will share that there are two critical pieces of legislation coming to the Senate floor in coming sessions, the Born Alive bill and the Heartbeat bill. That gives us our best chance to take a bite out of Roe v. Wade, our best chance since its inception in 1973. So my position is clear. I have always been a pro-life advocate. I have my own personal story, and I'm willing to share it with you. I shared it at a Right to Life event. I am a mother of 3, but I'm really a mother of 6. I have 3 angel babies, and I have 3 miscarriages. And I had physicians telling me that if I didn't have a procedure when there was no heartbeat, that they would stop treating me. And I stood firm, and I said, I believe that this is God's life, not mine. This is not my decision. If God wants to take this life, he will. That ended up being the case. But I put my own, the doctors were saying I put my life on the line. I don't think that's true. I think I was never more alive when I was fighting for my own children. But the reality is that I believe as a Christian, as a mother, I believe that life begins at conception, and I believe that right to life is not just rooted in our Constitution for the protection of the life of the child. I believe that provision is rooted in the First Amendment, in the freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. And I think that all across the board, there was a very poor decision made by the Supreme Court in 1973. I think we now see that there are justices that are willing to even talk about that. I know Justice Kavanaugh now said that Roe v. Wade was settled law, but he certainly left the door open for a revisitation of other provisions within the Constitution. The part that he spoke of being settled law were rooted in the first premise of the argument that was made to the Supreme Court in 1973. There are other provisions in the Constitution to not only revisit that, but to fight for life. And I will be one of the legislators that will be the champion on the Senate floor. And New Jersey, 34% supports Right to Life New Jersey, single issue voters. This is not a state that is willing to cede ground to the culture of death that Hugan says. He advertises. He's pro-abortion. I'm pro-life, and I'm the only choice for those single issue voters and all those in New Jersey that want to fight for the right to life of those unborn children.
Okay, because that's interesting. Because I was seeing someone on Periscope earlier, and they actually said that abortion isn't a real big issue in New Jersey, and I really kind of tripped out off of that, because I figure abortion and healthcare are issues anywhere in the country. Now, from what you know, as a mother, as a lifelong New Jerseyan, and now as one that's running for U.S. Senate, how important is the topic of abortion to the voters of New Jersey?
Well, again, anyone that doubts the commitment in New Jersey to right to life can take that up with the 34% of the 5.8 million voters in this state who do identify as right to life voters and who are in large majority single issue voters. This is not a game to them or us. And look, all America is shifting with the advances in technology, the advances in understanding of biologic life. We see that 1973 was a settled issue, not on the science, but really on the political aspects of that decision. Now scroll forward all these years later, and again, I underscore the 34% of New Jersey voters for whom this is a very, very important issue and who are ready to vote. Let's face it, pro-life voters vote. And they're ready to go to the polls. And if anybody is ready to ignore that significant a part of the electorate, I say they will do that at their own peril at the polls.
Okay, good. Let's now I want to get into your views on immigration, because that's something else that seems to be sliding down in the polls, except as far as importance to voters. So that's another one that the website attacked you on. And here are your views on immigration. I'm the only candidate in the U.S. Senate race in our state that will pull with enough force against Phil Murphy's sanctuary state policies to make a difference. Bob Menendez, Bob Hugin, and Brian Goldberg only offer more establishment policies that will never fight hard enough against the sanctuary state tide. This has to stop, and it will stop with a vote for me. I will fully support a constitutional end to sanctuary cities, stop chain migration and visa lotteries, and make our country safer with a full stop to dangerous opioids and gangs entering our country. Now, to me, that seems that you're pretty strong on illegal immigration and reforming the immigration system in general. So can you expand on why you have people or websites out here saying that you're not touching the issues when you do speak on them? And what is your exact position on illegal immigration and legal immigration?
And I mean, I think that both Bob Hugin and Bob Menendez will have to answer for their false allegations that I'm not speaking on the issues. I think, again, it's another example of projection, because if anyone won't speak on the issues, you know that Bob Hugin is called Silent Bob, and Bob Menendez is known to be hiding asleep at the wheel because he probably doesn't want to answer issues about the federal corruption was indicted on. But as far as my policy goes, again, couldn't be more crystal clear. From day one, I've been in favor of stopping chain migration, stopping visa lotteries, at the same time that Bob Hugin is coming out saying that he wants to make sure that illegal residents are not only given college tuition free along with Murphy, but he's saying now that there should be a path to citizenship, and anybody that's being productive that's here illegally should be given basically a free pass, is what he is saying. And I'm saying just the opposite. New Jersey is in jeopardy of becoming the next sanctuary state. And even at a time when California is finally waking up and seeing the consequences of the decisions that they've made thus far by being a sanctuary state, now, tragically, New Jersey is taking their lead and their place. You know, the reality is that New Jersey stands on the precipice of being one of the next great technology corridors, one of the next great places to do business, one of the next great centers for entrepreneurship. But the only way that we can do that is if we look at how to make New Jersey better than it's ever been. And that reality is that we have to, you know, as President Trump says, if we don't have a nation, if we don't have borders, rather, we don't have a nation. Well, if we don't have policies that oppose Murphy's sanctuary state agenda, we are not going to have a state anymore. And it just is common sense that we need someone with enough force and enough rational persuasion capabilities to argue on the Senate floor for the constitutional rights of New Jerseyans, of legal residents of New Jersey, to push back on the Murphy tax assault that's baked into all of those free things for illegal residents and things like college tuition, legal aid. What about the residents of New Jersey? I'll tell you quickly. Today, I work extensively with the veterans in New Jersey. One of my favorite veterans is Eddie Bodine. He's a homeless veteran, but he takes care of himself. He works, but he's homeless. And, I've been working to get him what he needs, got him registered to vote today, went out to Monmouth County to get that done. But the reason I bring that up is who's helping him? Who's giving him, a veteran that fought for our country? We're free because of veterans like that. We're the home of the free because of the brave. And now Phil Murphy, with the aid of Bob Hugan, is going to take care of illegal residents before residents like Eddie Bodine, who's an honored veteran, and instead of the citizens of New Jersey who are struggling to make ends meet. In me, you will have a voice, and I will support the policies that we need to make New Jersey better than it's ever been.
Yeah, I see you get a lot of support from the military and the veterans. I'm looking at these comments. I saw a hoorah. I take it that that guy is a Marine. I've seen no sanctuary cities in New Jersey. I've seen wishy-washy Hugan. And I also saw a comment a minute ago that said tourist traps. And I'm wondering if they're talking about the sanctuary city status and the illegal immigrants that are in New Jersey, if that's what they mean by tourist traps. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard that phrase in all honesty, but, I think that, knowing, look, all of the nation knows what's going on in New Jersey and California. And, most residents are very concerned that New Jersey can replace California as the next sanctuary state. I'm the only one strong enough and willing to make these arguments, not just here before the election, but strenuously on the Senate floor. I've already reached out to like-minded sitting senators as well as candidates to form a constitutionally protective lens in a constitutional caucus to do just that, to look out and look at all legislation through that constitutionally protective lens for citizens over illegal residents. It's time. We have to do it if we want to save our state.
Yeah, definitely. How does being so close to New York, how does it impact your race? And what about the citizens? Are the citizens nervous being so close to New York and the decisions that, like the one Comrade de Blasio just made recently about making it law that now there's a third sex? I mean, this guy is like literally God or something. How uncomfortable does it make New Jerseyans to know that they have a state GOP that is endorsing a rhino and they're so close to New York?
Right. That is a serious issue. Geographically, there is, Sussex County, Jefferson County. That's big MAGA country out there. So geographically, there's a bit of a buffer on the route from to New York to New Jersey. But what you brought up about the NJGOP becoming the front porch of the Democrat Party, as well as all of these insane policies that Murphy has taken extreme liberties with, all of that together are forming this perfect storm for the liberal agenda to really not only take root as it has, but to grow and perhaps reach a tipping point of no return. And that's another reason that we have to fight so hard. There is momentum. The numbers are there. The enthusiasm, like I said, is palpable for the MAGA agenda. We are between 2.4 and 2.9 million strong are the numbers that we've seen for MAGA. And again, we can't sit this election out as has happened before. The problem is that since 2016, that interim election when Guadagno was put up against Murphy, another rhino, lukewarm, these MAGA voters are going to sit that kind of thing out. But now they're electrified. They know there's a choice, and what we have to do is shout it from the rooftops. Don't stay home. Don't vote for the wishy-washy NJGOP Rhino, don't, they're not going to vote for Menendez, but, please don't believe the argument that there's a split vote. They can have the entire NJGOP vote. It's only 1.2 million, and Hugin will never get that many. If you can use his primary numbers, 75% of that NJGOP will go for Hugin. That leaves 25% of them vulnerable to another candidate. My MAGA message is perfect for that segment. But the most important thing is there's a whole 2.4 million independents that skew conservative in New Jersey that are ripe and ready to go to the polls. We outnumber them 2-1. If we vote, we win.
I'm glad you brought up splitting the ticket. When I was on with Richard Barris right before you, I saw someone that apparently was from New Jersey, and his statement was, if Hugin loses by 3 points, it will be Flanagan's fault. Are you still getting people that are scared to vote for an independent because they're worried about splitting the vote? Because I really don't get it. I'm actually putting together an article for my website, and it's titled Why a Nonpartisan Lens is Needed and Why Primaries Are So Important to the Voters. And my point with this article is, people neglect the primaries for whatever reason. Some say, voters don't pay attention until after Labor Day because they're enjoying their summer. I really don't see the importance of enjoying your summer so much that you can't research candidates in the primary, because the primaries to me are the most important elections, because it gives us a chance to choose the candidates versus the establishment choosing the candidates. And I always hear, the independents trying to split the vote. I don't get that. And at the same time, we complain about the representatives we have. So we're either going to pay attention during the primaries, research candidates, and we choose the candidates instead of letting the establishment pick the candidates, and just like every year complaining about who's in the Senate, who's in the House. Or we're going to start giving constitutional candidates like yourself as an independent the chance to win and represent us. So what's going on the ground floor as far as you being an independent when it comes to the voters?
All excellent points. So let's unpack all of those elements. The first thing is that it's such a bogus argument that anybody's going to split the vote. There are 8 candidates in this U.S. Senate race. Any mathematician, anybody that understands numbers, even in a logical sense. You don't have to understand math to understand that means you need a plurality to win, not a majority. And so the mere fact that everybody from the NJGOP is looking at me and putting that blame there tells me that I'm doing exactly the job that I need to do. They've seen the same numbers that I've seen. Now, I've been doing internal polling. No, they don't want to accept those numbers. I'm polling internally at 34.4%. I'm consistently at 2 times Mari Sabrin, who's 16%. And the reality is that no poll to date has anything but the 2 candidates. Well, let's look at why that is. Well, polling is set up long before the primary even happens. So before June, like you just said, June is the primary. Most of the pollsters weren't even aware that there were these other candidates until July. You really have to start, right? You have to start this polling process long before. And so these polls by definition are invalid. And anything, the Monmouth poll, that was months ago, but that showed 68% were still undecided. Bob Menendez and Bob Hugin don't share that, but that's 68% of 5.8 million is a huge number. So here's the thing. When we look at the primary issue, I would make the argument that at least in the current political climate, the establishment is always going to choose the candidate. That's just how establishments work. Our Constitution didn't even want that as a form of election and government. They wanted citizen politicians to give their time, talent, and resources for a time and then go back to do what they did in their everyday life. That's how government functions best. I would argue that we got the swamp by cultivating this establishment way of picking candidates, and that the natural result of that is the primary. So, I won't go into the detail, very well about the journey that I took through that primary process and why I chose to run as an independent Republican instead of an GOP candidate. But the bottom line is that this is how government is supposed to be. I would argue that New Jersey is a study in, the way our forefathers intended elections to be. 8 candidates that are out there vying for the voters by their platform, not by something that's ordained and bestowed by a specific establishment. I think that's exactly what the Hugan camp is afraid of. So vote splitting, I'm not worried about it because I've seen the numbers. I know that it's a separate cohort. Even if NJGOP, like I said, takes every one of those votes, they won't. But even if you, for the sake of argument, say that they did, there's still a whole bigger, twice as big segment that we're pulling from, and that's that MAGA segment. Splitting the vote doesn't make any sense, but winning by the MAGA segment does.
Yeah, I was shocked when you said there's 8 candidates in your race.
There are 8 candidates, yes.
And someone, I guess from New Jersey, again on Periscope, was like, I didn't even know about the others until today. That's really strange. So it's not possible that you're going to split the vote when there's 8 other candidates.
Exactly.
I just hate that myth because it's like, what do people want? It's just like that when a person says, oh, well, any Republican is better than a Democrat. And it's like, no, that's not true. If that Republican is a rhino, then there's a problem.
Exactly.
Let's get back into some of your issues. There was another one that they said you didn't answer, and that was on guns. And you say, and I've never heard anything like this from a candidate. You say we need better cross communications of data sources. That's a data integration issue, not a Second Amendment issue. We need better mental health screening. That's a mental health issue, not a Second Amendment issue. We need more effective detention for the criminally insane. That's a law enforcement and legislation issue, not a Second Amendment issue. So what is your position on the Second Amendment, and what exactly do you mean by those 3 things you stated that they're not Second Amendment issues?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I'll address your question about what does the Second Amendment issue really mean? Why is it so important? It's not, we have to remember that the Second Amendment is not just a right to bear arms for personal protection, although that's a provision thereof. It is really a right to bear arms for the protection of our democracy, of our constitutional republic, I should say. And the issue there is that this is a fundamental right. And it's not just something that is included in our Constitution. It's something that's borne out through the test of time and history. Any tyrannical government, the first thing that they've done is they've confiscated all the guns. You want to make sure that if you want the people under your control, they can't fight back. Now, God forbid it ever gets to that. We hope it never would. We don't advocate for that. But our Constitution, in the wisdom of our forefathers, saw that that was an imbalance that they weren't ready to cede to any kind of government. We, the people, have to have a right to defend ourselves from every assault, and that includes from the government all the way down to guns that are used for personal protection. Now, embedded therein, we have to make things safe. Of course, nobody wants everybody to just sell guns on the street corner. So that is where I talk about those other provisions, that we have to make sure that legislatively we have mental health care screening, we have database communication, we have law enforcement that will encourage the enactment of law enforcement. Let's look at MSD, that horrific tragedy. Those officers were told to stand down. I've always said that, if you're going to have good guys with guns, you have to use them for the betterment of protecting all the people concerned. We see time and again that there are these horrific gun tragedies. No one wants that, but look at that church shooting in Texas. That was a stand-up good guy with a gun that prevented further loss of life. There is no event, as horrific and tragic as they have been, there is no event that could have been prevented by more gun legislation. But there sure as heck were events that happened that could have been prevented by better healthcare screening, better communication of databases, and making sure that those people with guns, especially law enforcement, are told to go in and save lives rather than stand down and do nothing. It's really crystal clear, and the Second Amendment provision is something we have to fight for.
Good point. You got that right. Now, let's get into one last issue before I let you go. And you have a lot of experience in this, and this would be the issue of healthcare. And this also is on your website. And again, I don't understand why people are posting on their websites that you're dodging the issues when you've spoken on them. They've had to go to your website and see that they're there. And it just goes to show the blatant lies that are told to the public when they have an establishment candidate that they support, and probably in their pocket, because, you know, we know how some of these candidates are. They're paying websites, they're paying district leaders to get their support. So on healthcare, you say, as a candidate for the U.S. Senate and as an expert in healthcare policy innovation for the past 2 decades, I'm bold and ready to tackle healthcare reform in the coming legislative session. The cold reality that New Jersey citizens woke up to with the Affordable Care Act rattled our healthcare options on many levels. Choice was gone, premiums escalated, access to innovative treatment was jeopardized, and insurance became unusable and unaffordable. That's a bad deal for New Jersey and for America. Families that I speak to across our state share living nightmares of insurance premiums spiking to record levels, $2,500 a month in some cases. To add insult, deductibles can be $12,000, and strict limitations are increasingly set on access to innovative care and treatments. I'm truly offended that our citizens have to beg a third-party government-mandated entity for the use of our own health care dollars. What's your exact position on healthcare, and expand on it?
Mm-hmm. Sure. And like you said, this has been available on my website, I believe, since February. So why they're saying it's not there is just another, it's obviously another tactic of lies and intended to shroud the people in what really is available to them. Because this is a critical issue. Healthcare will be the #1 issue legislatively in the coming sessions. There's no question about that. It's not only it not only will come up again in on the Senate floor, but it's one of the most important aspects of voting decisions that voters are considering all across America. This is our opportunity for New Jersey to lead the way for full health care reform and full repeal and replace of Obamacare. So what will that look like? So I'm going to just delineate, I'm going to differentiate between my competition right now. Bob Menendez wants government to control your healthcare decisions. He wants Medicare for all, Medicaid for all. Well, what will happen with that? Well, our taxes will go up. Premiums will increase. The deductibles that you saw me mention now, and that it is a living nightmare. I mean, there are constituents that I talk to throughout the state that have to make a decision sometimes with paying their healthcare premium or eating. That should not happen in the United States of America. And the reality is that with Bob Menendez's plan, taxes are going to go up, deductibles are going to go up, healthcare premiums are going to go up, and it's going to be this horrendous government healthcare for all. God forbid you need to use that healthcare plan because you won't be able to get access to any kind of quality care or innovative treatment. And let's look at what Bob Hugin wants. He wants kind of the same equation, but he wants that decision to be in the hands of the insurance lobby. So same consequence, high premiums, high deductibles, and low access to care and quality and innovative treatments. If anybody does anybody think that when the insurance company lowers your premium, if that ever happens, they lower it by a few bucks, a few $100s, does anybody think that they actually then give you better care and better treatment as a result? No, that goes to their bottom line and they pocket the profit. Well, that's not good for New Jersey or for America either. But there is a better way. There is a way to leverage the policy that I've been involved with for 21 years, looking at things from every part of the equation. What we can do is we can utilize concierge physicians, for instance, the fastest growing segment of physicians in our country. Physicians love my plan. Patients certainly love my plan. The only people that hate my plan are the insurance company and the insurance lobby, because they're not happy with me at all. And that's Hugin's background, bilking cancer patients.
Yeah.
Dollars. That's what he's using to fund the campaign. It's another topic. But with the healthcare reality is that we can lower premiums by a third to a half.
Wow.
And in most cases, have no deductible. I mean, there might be some cases where if you have diabetes medication, some sort of chronic medication, there might be a deductible, but nowhere near $12,000. We're talking about $12,000.
Right quick.
Yeah.
Did you just say that premiums could be lowered by a third to a half?
Correct. Yes, that's absolutely true.
How would that be done?
So the first part of it is utilizing, again, leveraging concierge physicians. Would you be shocked if I told you that you can get a concierge physician, a personal physician, that will even make house calls for $175 a month?
Wow. Yeah, I would be shocked.
Yeah. And that includes your physicals. That includes unlimited visits. That's the reality. I know because I have a concierge plan.
So is that something that you're advocating should you win?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been working with a team of concierge physicians who have been working with this type of plan since the inception of the concept in this country. And they are, this is the new wave. This is the biggest sector of physicians growing in this country. Physicians are suffering from this plan as well. From the plans that, like the Medicare and the Hugan plan. Physicians don't like it either because, number one, they're beholden to an insurance company that tells them how to practice medicine. That's not what they want to do. They want to do what's best for the patient, but their hands and their medical knowledge is tied. And then the other piece of the equation is the treatment aspect and the medication aspect. Well, I know from being a business person, I know that the best way to get a good price is to go direct to distributor. And there are a number of pharmaceutical companies that we can partner with, that we can use volume, which is the best cost reducing metric you can utilize, and we can work direct to the distributor, if you will, and we can get access to innovative treatments. Nobody wants good quality. Nobody wants a healthcare plan that is going to diminish our ability to treat diseases innovatively and use those treatments that are on the cutting edge, that are being developed, like immuno-oncology treatments that were just launched last year. Some cutting edge medications that most plans on either the Medicare Medicaid platform that Menendez advocates or the insurance lobby mandated program that Hugan wants. In both of those equations, the access to those innovative treatments are limited. But in my plan, you get open access, and it's cheaper, it's more available, and that's because we cut that middle guy out. That insurance lobby, that insurance company, they're very upset about it, but they have just got to go. Their profits are what's responsible for the biggest margin of increase in both premiums as well as treatment costs, and it's time that somebody stands up to them who doesn't have any ties. I'm a free agent. That's another benefit of voting for an independent. I don't know anybody, anything, and I can fight for we the people instead of being beholden to either the insurance lobby or the government cronyism that got folks like Menendez and Hugan would put them into office. I'll work for we the people, not.
That's a real important point. Like you said, you're a free agent and you're not beholden to anyone in the establishment. That's very important because that's what we're dealing with when we deal with the status quo with campaign finance reform, where actually incumbents are taking money that is donated to them and using it for personal expenses, tied to the lobbyists and all sorts of things. So people need to understand that about the independent, that they're not beholden to any of the establishment lobbyists or any of the establishment tricks of the trade that we're so unhappy about. So as usual, I'm going to give you the last word, but I also want to let the people know that you will be back Wednesday, possibly with the panel. And the viewers on Periscope have been great. I've seen everything from "You're Stronger Than a Marine," "We're Stronger Than the Marine." I guess they're talking about Hugan. I've also seen a couple of people that are really in your corner, so it seems like you have a lot of support. One person actually said that one problem with the lies is the fact that they don't like what you have to say. They don't like your policies because they don't have any. And that's something that I've talked to you about often. So the people definitely have your back. I want to thank the viewers on Periscope. They always leave kind comments when you're on, and I appreciate that, and I know you do as well. So I'm going to give you the last word to talk to your constituents and give them some motivation to spread the word about you and let people understand that you're not splitting the vote. You're trying to make New Jersey and the country a much better place and take it out of the hands of the establishment.
That's right. That's right. And I thank your viewers as well. You know, the folks that I've been meeting all across our state are the best in the world. My heart is with all of you. We, the people of New Jersey, are ready to take our state back, and we're ready to make New Jersey better than it's ever been before. And like you said, James, that argument of splitting the vote, that implies that there's just a small NJ GOP universe. And I know they do live in their own universe, but there's a whole big voter world outside of that little tiny bubble. And what I can tell the voters is that we are going full steam ahead. I was canvassing this weekend, and like I said, I met, there were 450 people at the Wounded Warrior event. We walked neighborhood after neighborhood in Ocean County, been doing the diner tours. I've been meeting people at train stations. I've been on street corners in Trenton. I've been talking to We the People. And the thing that I hear most is somebody's actually listening. And I say, yes, I will always listen, because this is your seat and your voice. And I'm so sorry that the politicians that you've had to deal with over the last recent history have forgotten that, but I never will. I put my phone number on my website. I hand out cards and I say, call me, talk to me. I want to hear from you, and I will never stop fighting for you. I have innovative solutions. Government is ready to go into the 21st century, and New Jersey is ready to be part of that amazing opportunity. We want New Jersey to be welcoming to entrepreneurs, big business, give a living economy to the people of New Jersey. We want to push back to the Murphy tax assault. We want to make sure that in coming legislative sessions that you have somebody who's going to be your voice on that Senate floor for your constitutional provisions to push back on all that you've seen. The Democrat and Rhino nightmare of the past is over. Vote for me. Let's spread the word. Let's take more ground, and let's journey to Election Day with a full battle cry. Battle speed. We're in it to win it. We're here for the MAGA cause, and I ask for your vote. I ask for your support, and I will never stop working for you.
Wow, I love it. You always leave with a passionate word. I even saw someone mention that on Periscope, that they love your passion. I know I do. And I'll be looking forward to having you back Wednesday, whether it's just you or we have the panel that we've had a couple of times that expose what the New Jersey GOP is doing. So people, make sure you come back Wednesday, because there's going to be even more great information for you that is being hidden from you, actually. We're trying to put the power in the hands of the people and take it back from the establishment. We have to stop going after big name politicians. There should be no political stars in our country. Okay, we have enough problems with stars and celebrities. We don't need to make our politicians celebrities. We need to make sure that we're electing people that, well, we're electing candidates that work for the people, that work for the Constitution and our republic. So come back tomorrow evening, 7 Central, for the Cheef Report, and make sure you're back Wednesday as well with Trisha Flanagan and our panel. And on that note, that ends this episode of the Cheef Report. I love you guys. God bless, and have a safe night.
This is a snowflake-free zone.
Cheef Report. The Cheef Report. The Cheef Report.
This is a snowflake-free
Cheef
zone.
Report. The Cheef Report. The Cheef Report.
This is a snowflake-free
Cheef
zone.
Report. The Cheef Report. The Cheef Report.
This is a snowflake-free
Cheef
zone.
Report.